actually going to go for the Corki, so return for ShiauC on this pick. It does mean they're probably going to struggle in terms of early priority mid, but the scaling is pretty exceptional.
Yeah, I think it gives ShiauC a lot to work with, especially when you're looking at the late game team fighting and things along those lines. Also, still at the top of his champion pool right there. So as I was kind of saying when we brought his graphic up, fitting right into the meta at hand at the moment. We do see meta being picked up by Ultra Prime, though. They get the Aphelios and the Gwen locked in.
Yeah, and Jinx as an answer makes complete sense here. Really long range composition for WE. I actually want to see them pick up Xin Zhao though on this third pick, because I think if you give it with Xin Zhao Gwen, you're gonna have problems. The alternative is you pick up something for BiuBiu to answer the Gwen, right? We see a lot of Jayce picked into the Gwen, so maybe it's now or never if you're gonna take that one, and it looks like they will go in that direction. I do think Ultra Prime can honestly just grab the Xin Zhao on their rotation though, and when you look at the composition of WE, great scaling backline carries, but all range, right?
Yeah.
Xin Zhao Gwen definitely problematic to go up against them when both of them are basically immortal to that threat.
And I do really like the avenues that Ultra Prime still have, right? Like they're about to pick their third pick of the game. They have a lot to finick with, I guess, into this third pick, right? Do they want to go with the support, the engage? Do they want to set up their solo lane, at least in the mid lane, for that later pick? It does look like they're going to ought to do that because the Nautilus is picked up. And on WE's side now, you've got to think of kind of what you want to ban out going into the second phase, and especially looking at that mid lane, looking at that jungle pool.
Yeah, I think for me, Xin Zhao makes a lot of sense. Again, I think the Gwen Xin Zhao combo, especially when you're playing things like Jinx, so problematic to go up against. I also think Orianna is a particularly rough match for Corki that scales exceptionally. So I wouldn't be amiss to see that banned. Hecarim is also an option. Ultra Prime have gone for the Tom Kench ban as something that offers a bit of a safety net. Could also get rid of Leona if you're concerned about W having engaged tools, and also something that is a fine matchup into the Nautilus. We'll see what they opt for in this situation, but I am glad to see the Xin Zhao combo. I really think Xin Zhao Gwen is just so broken together, so hard to deal with.
Man, I'm sad I don't get either of my favorite LPL champions right now. I don't get Tom Kench and I don't get Hecarim. What is this? Ultra Prime, you target banning Mazel at this point. No, but it is some high priority bans coming across from Ultra Prime in their second phase. And now, you know, the ball is at Team WE's court. Do they want to continue to whittle down some of this proactive jungling from Hacker? They decide not to. They go for that matchup you were talking about in the Orianna ban.
Yeah, I think this makes complete sense. Now, Ultra Prime, you can prioritize a jungle here if there's something left open available you want to take. They have the Nautilus as some sort of single target engage, but they could look for a bit more if they wanted. Instead, actually going to go for the tryndamere, and this is mid as well. This is something we see often as a counter into the Corki, able to really threaten it early and then potentially even dive. The safety of Corki is a bit irrelevant when you're trapped in a tower. They can't go down. Now, WE looking for some early pressure, and they need their engage tools between the jungle and support. So I have the idea off this Volibear. So they're not going to obviously lean heavily into the side lanes. First and foremost, they might just lock in this Leona. Is something we talked about as being very popular in the LPL, second most popular support after Nautilus, and a decent matchup into him, so providing a bit of that engage. Now, Beisheng, there is a range of options. You know, there's still the Lee Sin open, there's the Viego, Jarvan, Volibear, that we could see them lean towards. Lee Sin, I'm not the biggest fan of here because it doesn't have the most setup, but one thing I will say, if there's a Gwen or a tryndamere charging your backline, the ability to kick them away, very valuable.
Yeah, he actually opts for the little bit of preemptive strike there with the Volibear himself. Nicely picked up there, but changing a little bit of that because you do have that early skirmishing, and now it's up to Ultra Prime and Hacker specifically at what he will take into that skirmishing, what he feels like will be the answer to the Volibear that we've been seeing rise so much in priority here recently as well.
I actually really like the Sejuani pick here. I would think they could actually go for that.
Dirty.
Yeah, so the reason it works really well in this situation is you have melee solo laners, you also have a melee support, so very easy to stack up your passive in the skirmishes, and it means you can just play for mid or top, right? If Gwen ghosts and runs a Jayce, very quick to stack up that stun passive, lock him down, easy kill. Same comes in mid. If you're going for a dive, right, tryndamere gets a few autos off onto the Corki, done and dead. So I actually like this coming out from Ultra Prime. I think they have a lot of tools to be aggressive with, and as much as they are going up against like Jinx, Corki, and Jayce in the later stages, it is going to be a bit of a pain if it goes late. they have a way of approaching the fight, right? They go aggressive, they dive them. If they get onto the backline, if they flank, definitely an avenue to win even later in the game.
And that's why I want to check into our win conditions, right? For Team WE, it's about how BiuBiu and Kedaya can get on the map together. That early roam time are so significant for Kedaya. And on the other side, at this point, we got a very strong top side trio with a lot of synergy together. So maybe we see an adaptation in style along those lines, maybe a little bit more given to Elias and Cryin. But Aphelios for Elk is still a tried and true pick, and they have a little bit of safety going into the team fight later in the game. But as you said, it gets harder and harder as the game goes on. That poke, the multiple rockets, the accelerated shock blast, you've got to be able to dive, duck, and dodge at some point for Ultra Prime. But it's all about that synergy. It's about the teams coming together. And specifically for Ultra Prime, I feel like that is even more heavily indexed here because Hacker will rely on his teammates to really back up the Sejuani pick.
Yeah, they want to fish for skirmishes early where there's a few members, right? Sejuani individually, not the best and isn't going to win against a Volibear 1v1, but you bring her Gwen or tryndamere into the mix, even just bringing the Nautilus in to help proc the passive quicker and lock a target down. I think it has a lot of value. I want to see Ultra Prime here setting things up, playing aggressive, finding the momentum. If they go even at that third dragon point when the package is synced up, it's going to be a rough time.
Well, we are loading on to the Rift. We'll see whose win conditions come out easier to execute as we have Team WE taking on Ultra Prime in our first series of the night.
You see the Ultra Prime go on top just to make sure, trying to potentially find something, but a ward already placed by WE will mean there are no shenanigans coming out. We didn't get to see too much. We didn't get to see too much of this Sejuani. We've seen 2 games, I believe, which was from Karsa. One game was with the Corki on his team, which was questionable at best. But
I like the wording. Good choice. PR words. It's okay.
The second one was with I believe that tryndamere mid with Rookie playing it, and I think it's a very effective way of playing around melee solo lanes, right? We often saw players with Aurelia syncing up very well with the Sejuani, easy to stack them up, and I want to see that pressure, you know, from Cryin coming out the mid lane, particularly when level 6 is hit. It's very scary for the Corki because one of the things is Corki has some ability, but you can't really match the chase down potential of tryndamere, and your tower isn't that much of a safe haven.
Yeah, it really isn't. We've seen so many times in these matchups where like it's a bit rough, but ShiauC will be onto the Rift for the first time here in the split and needs to find some of that solid ground to stand on himself. I want to check in on the jungle path. We did say that, you know, this matchup would be very good, as I can't really talk about that because we're getting the 2v down the bot lane. But this jungle is so enabling for both these teams. It's so important on the early pathing, what we see them trying to accomplish early. I will check in and say that both junglers are pathing to opposite sides, maybe relying a little bit more on the strength we saw from the draft.
Yeah, and I feel like for Hacker, there's definitely, he wants to lean towards his melee solo and his play for them. BiuBiu actually going to look for a potential invade, and this is positive, right? You have Cryo top to lean on, and also you beat Hacker quite comfortably in the 1v1. If Hacker doesn't get backup, you will win out. And the only thing I'm a bit concerned about is Cryin can move. So BiuBiu, he wants to get this and then move up towards top lane to get out where he has support from his lane. I think he should get some time.
I think Hacker realizes something's going down. He pops the scanner. BiuBiu has already gotten the red buff, and now the skirmish is unfolding. Cryin on his way here, and it forces BiuBiu off of the fight. But BiuBiu gets in and out with the red buff.
Yeah, really positive play in punishing the Sejuani in a situation where, I mean, as much as he'd already stolen the red,
oh my goodness,
saw that, oh yeah, this could be bad.
They knew he was there. Cryin, you gotta be careful. He's gonna be able to get out of this one. He's got to spin. He can actually get over the wall. BiuBiu just keeps walking because he knows what's coming.
Yeah, just threading him. Does manage to keep the bot side skill, but also, I think it's just, you know, when you're up against someone like a Sejuani, the strength is the group gear.
Wait, what?
ShiauC in trouble.
This is right over tower, and it doesn't matter. ShiauC gets the re-engage, but he dies anyways. First blood going over to Kedaya.
Yeah, and a critical thing here is Kedaya has Aftershock, ShiauC has Glacial Augment, so significant tank advantage in favor of the Leona here. You saw how squishy ShiauC looked there. Obviously was a level down, but just basically instantly bursted in that situation. Layered very effectively with the traps, and we also see Hacker showing up top lane. But BiuBiu, he's in a relatively safe position, does know this is happening.
Early proactivity is key, though, and seeing Hacker try to get on a gank is good, as we've already seen BiuBiu being that active jungler in his own right. You know, the invasion coming in there himself. Now we do have Dragon coming up in about a minute. Before we get to those map movements and the macro play coming out from that, though, we gotta see this 2v2 in the bot lane.
Yeah, so just layers CC with the traps, the zap, and then the last auto able to get it. And again, Kedaya significantly tankier than the Nautilus. Leona is already just the base kit because it's a W tankier than Nautilus, but you add in the aftershock difference and it is night and day.
A lot of bodies heading around this mid lane. We're getting roam timers out for both these supports as we wanted to see. Maybe not exactly how Kedaya wanted to do it, as 4 bodies are in the mid lane for Ultra Prime, but still checking in on both of these supports, the true engagers for these teams. It feels like a lot of leading in the decision making as well.
And if you try and find an opportunity mid, that's the thing, is that if Cryin is able to get pressure from his teammates, able to find solo kills, he can really run away with this matchup and start to apply pressure around the map. I will say that WE being up in gold, the fact they got that kill bot lane, they feel pretty comfortable at this point, right? If things keep going this trajectory, I think a critical thing is it gets to the point where Corki is going to have those packages, and that's where things can be a bit more problematic. Yeah. Ultra Prime, it becomes harder to approach neutrals when you know if we dive the back line and ShiauC just packages away, we're all going to get toasted.
Yeah, because that is one thing when you drafted this composition for Ultra Prime is you're lacking a lot of the range. I mean, you have Elk, but still, Aphelios isn't the most long range, but he doesn't have the Calibrum. So that's something that we have to take into effect when we're coming into the team fights, especially the setup from Ultra Prime is going to be so important, making sure they're there in front of the objectives and get that front to back that they're looking for, at least to some extent. Now, we do have BiuBiu hovering around this bottom side of the map, while Hacker going up towards this top side on the path, and it looks like Dragon will be secured by Team WE.
Yeah, and this is actually really positive. If a team who has the Corki gets the early Dragons, it becomes incredibly hard to deal with the pressure later on when you're dealing with the package timer sync with Dragon. So securing that first one, definitely a positive move from WE. And honestly, Ultra Prime, not really as much has come from this early game, right? There's a couple looks for ganks here and there, but top lane is naturally losing as you will in the matchup down. Sort of 20 CS. And Cryin is fishing for these all-ins, taking a bit of damage for his troubles.
Yeah, a little bit of burn back on him as he was walking away from that one. You have movement from the top side. BiuBiu on his way to help ShiauC. You also have BiuBiu here. Cryin is just in too deep at this point. Over his head. ShiauC, he's going to flash. What a play. Wow.
Man, that was so close. And honestly, I think that kind of shows how crazy the matchup is. The fact that Cryin just decided, yeah, I'm just going to go for it. ShiauC has both summoners. And if that was a 1v1, would have died. The team are there to peel. Great roam down from BiuBiu. Yeah, Cryin, no range stacked up, just pulse peel. That obviously gives him a fair bit when he gets low enough on HP. And he just charges his ShiauC. But the critical things is, one, this stun from BiuBiu was flashed by time. And then also BiuBiu knocking him out of range. I think even if that was just like a 2v1 with BiuBiu there, I don't think that would have been enough. So great roam from BiuBiu to secure that.
That's what I was going to say. How bad does it feel for Cryin? You're finally like, okay, this is the time. You know, I've got this level. I'm going in. I've got my ultimate. Wait, why do you have 2 other people showing up in your lane at the same time? Oh, my goodness. And I can just, like, feel that coming off of the stage right there. What a play. What a timing window from Team WE.
Yeah, and now we see Herald spawning up in about 10 seconds. We see supports moving up there already. Kedaya's reset and heading there for mid. ShiauC just needs to reset and pick up the package, and it is such a massive threat in this skirmish. But I want to see Ultra Prime contest this. Getting that 80 package, getting mid tower broken would be super. Getting that 80 Herald, sorry, breaking mid tower would be very important. So I want to see them move over contested. You have strength, right, in your composition. Actually, ShiauC very slow on the reset to pick up the package. Hacker should just move over, go over the wall, and look to contest this.
This is a little bit slow for Team WE to burn down this Rift Herald. Now Ultra Prime taking position in front of the pit. Looking at that Rift Herald, the engage coming from ShiauC. They all pounce like tigers from the jungle. Hacker takes down BiuBiu.
Yeah, really nicely played there. And I thought Hacker got.
Oh my
Herald
god,
there,
ShiauC just is on one right now, getting these hooks left and right. Xie using the package, but look at BiuBiu on the side. It is a very split fight, but Team WE are caught out a bit. You still have Cryin. He's going to go raging, and big Moonlight Vigil from the other side of Elk. It's still trading back and forth. The stay is excited, but here comes Elk with the flash over the wall. The Caliber doing some damage. The Chakrams backing him up. BiuBiu is here. He's now fighting. The carousel keeps on turning because this is the LPL, baby! As Team WE somehow turn it all around, somehow find a way, and they come out on top.
They crushed the fight. WE able to turn it around because the back line, they can't aggress on them, right? They retreat towards the towers. And Ultra Prime, they're short range. It took Elk flashing in to secure that kill. And Ultra Prime, they lose the fight and they don't end up getting the Herald. Massive disappointment for them overall.
Honestly, incredible that that fight lasted that long, that BiuBiu was able to come back into it after starting off the Rift. We're going to finally get a replay of that. Crazy. It didn't even show the original pick out either.
The package from Xie pretty instrumental in slowing down Ultra Prime. And then we see Cryin ulting here, but Hacker, I feel like the big strength of this competition is getting those stuns off frequently. You see Kedaya has a passive stacked up, but doesn't get procced in time. And this position, very difficult to fight from here, because WE can just constantly retreat towards their towers. And so there, flash over the wall comes out from BiuBiu. They're not able to follow up, and that allows BiuBiu just to return. I remember he got burst out instantly, so he has everything available to him, able to clean up the fight. And WE, we talked about how they had these strong scaling elements. Them winning a fight there is a massive win.
It absolutely is. And now I want to do a check-in on items, and we're having our first mythics come across the board, especially towards this top side of the map for Team WE. They're the ones picking up all the kills, and it's 6-3 now in this lead, but only about a 2,000 gold lead to write home about. Ultra Prime definitely want to make something happen here towards the spot side, as the next dragon spawning very, very soon.
Yeah, and this is one that Ultra Prime should contest, right? No package available for the Corki. Definitely want to stop them from stacking them up quickly, because eventually, obviously, as I've said multiple times, it will be synced up. They do still have lost strength in composition. My only concern is BiuBiu, right? Look, this teleport timer coming up sooner than Alias by a small factor, but that could be a difference maker.
Hacker and ShiauC still here. They're the only members present from Ultra Prime. Zenith Blade Connect. Elk is here to back them up. The Dragon falls, but Kedaya is just the bait, because here comes the rest of Team WE. They've got one. Stay is excited now. He's getting two. Could he go for the third? The big Gravitum on the other side to stop it, but the Zenith Blade connects yet again, and Kedaya is still alive. Kedaya, the madman's running away from Cryin. He pops the Unrelenting Rage, but can he survive any much longer to get any kills? He does not. Stay picks up another one, and it's all Team WE at this point, Aux.
Yeah, Ultra Prime just completely flopped, right? I wasn't sure if they were wanting to contest there or not, and I don't think they were sure either. And they eventually decide, yeah, let's contest the dragon after it's gone. Elk and Cryin so slow to move over, and by the time they do, ShiauC's already dead, Hacker's already chunked out, and WE, so easy for them to win a team fight out in this scenario. The backline can just charge forward without even being really contested. Like, you look at the situation, right? Why is there only two people here? Eventually Elk shows up, but then it's still Cryin not really in position to follow. ShiauC goes down, Hack is incredibly low, and WE are just playing these fights better. They're working as a unit, as a four-man.
And that was something that was so integral to us when looking at this matchup. How does that connection between BiuBiu and Kedaya look? Kedaya has gotten out with a sliver of health so many times this game. The Zenith Blades are like point-and-click abilities, and this combo for Team WE is shining today in this first game.
Yeah, and now 4-0-5 on that Jinx, 2-0-3 on the Jayce. In that winning matchup, has the disadvantage. They're going to take that top tier 1. There is a bit of an answer back on the other side. Elk picking up some plates, but a substantial gold lead right now. 4,000. That's before the tower is even taken.
Blow up even more, just hovering around that 5,000 gold lead. But I want to do a check-in on Ultra Prime side, right? We said at the beginning of the day in our segment, it is about Cryin and Elk who will carry this team. Well, both of them not in a predicament right now to be able to carry, but they still have the potential, the side lane potential from Cryin, the actual team fight damage potential from Elk as we get stacking up into the later parts of the game. That will still become crucial. So, Aux, I gotta ask, how do they get these two carries back into the game?
Well, I can talk about it in a second, but I'm kind of confused as to why ShiauC has this package right now. Because it's over
we don't talk
a
about
minute.
that, all right, Aux? We don't talk about that.
Over a minute. It's over a minute before
he hasn't
that
gotten
Herald.
to make you mad yet, all right? This is his first time. He has to make sure.
Well, yeah, what was the point in this package? He just throws it down. No objective. Like, oh, man, whatever. Cool, you know. They're doing so well. And he just... Okay, I'll give him a pass, right? It's his first series back. Maybe he hasn't learned about my frustrations. Either way, they are going to lean down towards the bot side, make things more difficult. Look at Elk.
Elk already pops the Gale Force, but they're coming in anyways. The Stormbreaker, the Mega Death Rocket doesn't connect. BiuBiu goes golden here, but TWE to back him up. Flame Choppers connect on the 2. Cryin already has to pop the race. The rest of Ultra Prime are trying to keep up here. They can't, though. And now ShiauC's coming back in with Stay, who's excited. And the double rocket composition is coming alive. You just can't take the heat, so stay out of the kitchen, Ultra Prime.
And WE are so far ahead. They can just death ball them. They can just charge forwards. And Ultra Prime are really struggling to execute on their composition, right? I wanted to see those low number skirmish around the melee top laners. I want to see backline access. But every single time, and we look at this one once again, okay? So the initiators are WE. Ultra Prime kite back in this situation, but Elk ends up so low, not really able to do anything in this fight other than just put some turnaround damage. But then Ultra Prime, they just charge forwards and like look at Cryin, stunned, instantly loses all his health, pops the ult. Okay, well, I guess I have to get out now. And it's like, it just achieves nothing.
The range has been so hard for Ultra Prime to deal with, and we highlighted it going into the draft. Like, oh my God, Team WE, it feels like they got the Exodia range composition here, and they're using it beautifully. We wanted to see, is it going to be Elias able to separate that damage a little bit with the Shroud, or with the Mist rather? It hasn't come to fruition there, and the team composition for Team WE is fully online at this point, and it still gets worse. The scaling is still there further on in the game, and we're only 16 minutes in.
Yeah, you know, I talked about this coming out of the draft, right? In the late game, if a Gwen and a tryndamere get on your backline, they can still win, but not when you're this far behind, and it does become harder and harder and harder as the game goes on. Jinx, Corki, Jayce scale exceptionally, and Cryin has been extremely underwhelming on this tryndamere pick. Aphelios has been sort of muted quite a bit, but that's because the matchup, it's a rough matchup, and then they've been losing out in these team fights. And now with a 7,000 gold lead, WE is setting up for that dragon. They do have the Herald to apply some pressure mid, but no package.
This would be soul point for Team WE to try to get this mid tower. Will not go down. The Herald only getting that one charge off. Team WE positioned down towards the bottom side. You see what their intention is. Get that charge off and transition it to another neutral objective or a team fight here, as Ultra Prime just walking into it. You're walking into the mouth of a shark at this point. Oh, Hacker on the side though with a beautiful Glacial Prison. The Moonlight Vigil AoE is huge on the side, but you've got to watch out for Stay on the back. He's got the excitedness. He's got ShiauC on his back pocket as well, and BiuBiu to frontline it. You see Ultra Prime move out after they get 2 kills. So Ultra Prime come out positive in that one.
Yeah, they managed to get a couple of kills. No package available because someone decided to grab it early, but it made probably a pretty solid difference there, using it to disengage and turn things around. Ultra Prime trying to hold on for now. The BiuBiu does have teleport available, so quickly we're going to see WE get some reinforcements in the situation. Even without them, it feels like they can just, yeah, they are going to get the TP coming in. They're going to be able to scare this dragon. Hacker was solo, you have to reset. Now they're actually going to look for a bit more.
They got to be careful with the rest of Ultra Prime down here. It's everybody from Team WE trying to chase them down. Will not be so just yet. Actually, BiuBiu on the side already finds out ShiauC, who just dies outright. And somehow they stuck around long enough for BiuBiu to get 2 kills, 3 kills for Team WE. What is happening? Ultra Prime falling apart.
Ultra Prime are completely flopping here. I said one of the concerns about losing those early dragons would be how easy it is for WE to stack them up later, even without the package. Managed to scare that 3rd one. The Mountain Soul is such a positive for WE, right? We talked about how you need to kill these long-range backliners, get in their face. The extra shield makes it even more difficult, and Ultra Prime have no damage to break those shields from a distance. So, you know, even ignoring the fact that they have a 7k goal lead, things are starting to feel doomed for Ultra Prime. Just feels like they're not able to make this composition work, right? They didn't find the early skirmishes, and in the team fights, this one was initially a positive, right? Stay not really able to get too many auto attacks in this situation. A Hacker goes for a great ult here to lock down BiuBiu, and Aphelios do when things able to turn things around. But the problem is they burn so much, right? They win the fight, but ShiauC incredibly low, Hacker, Cryin incredibly low, no ult available for anyone apart from the Nautilus. So despite the fact they win the fight, they no longer have tools to deal with the Jinx who is still full HP.
And I just want to say, one of the beauties of the highlights we did for Team WE and the fact that it is Shanks and Kedaya who really make this team function in the mid game, as well as those engages and really a driving force for the team, is it makes the rest of the members propped up. It is that enablization. You have Stay now, as we were kind of mentioning, 4-0-9 on the Jinx, 3-2-9 on ShiauC. The kill participation is huge. Everybody is involved in this win. 5-1-5 on BiuBiu in the top side. Like, everyone from Team WE is showing up in this first.
100%. And, you know, I feel like, oh, whoa, we've seen Bayesian come in with this Zhonya's on the Volibear.
Yes, let's go.
We've seen this a bit. I respect this. You know, there's decent AP ratios on the Volibear, but also just being able to dive in, use that stasis. We talk about how powerful stopwatch is, and Zhonya's, you're getting the repeatable usage off it. Remember, Volibear gets health from his ultimate, so benefits quite a bit from just having an armor.
Oh my
God. Doesn't necessarily need to stack so much HP. Oh my lord, that damage.
Cryin just almost dies. They are pushing the tower, but they got a lot of people here from Ultra Prime. A lot of damage from the Sky Splitter and the rest of the poke. They're still targeting the tower as well. Tower will not fall this time around, but Team WE will continue to put the pressure up here in the top side.
And remember, right, this is a melee, well, a short range composition for Ultra Prime. They don't have good wave clear. The wave clear is kind of hoping Elk has the Infernum. And right now, they're really struggling trapped in this tower. They are going to back away. Don't want to overstay and potentially get flanked on. But Ultra Prime just struggling to hold on and defend their tier 2. It's an 8,000 gold disadvantage. That is monumental only 20 minutes into the game.
And can I just say, honestly, good stuff with Team WE to show some reserve there at the top side. Not go for that tier 2 tower. Know that if they get caught, that's an easy way for Ultra Prime to start getting back into the game if they can. And I think that shows a very, very nice level of play in reservedness from Team WE, where I feel like in the latter weeks, we might see them just continue to barrel down the top side, try to take that 5v5 fight under tower, and maybe come away a little bit worse for wear for it. So Team WE definitely crossing all their T's, dotting all their I's this time around.
Yeah, this is a good move to back through the jungle, right? And then clear out the vision, make sure no flanks are going to come through, and then they went back to the tower to secure it. That's the thing. That is the danger, is if a tryndamere or a Gwen ends up behind your team, right on top of them, it can cause problems. And I think that's what they're just playing careful to avoid, because that's really the only way they kind of lose the game at this point. Now, a minute until that Dragon Soul, they get this. It's pretty much doomed for Ultra Prime. Feels already pretty difficult. And
look at him. Look at him.
He heard me. He listened. He's going to sync it up. He's going to have this package for the Dragon this time. For some reason, some players really struggle with this, but ShiauC only took him half of a game to figure it out. And
it was one mistake, okay? One mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, Aux. All right, we got to give them some leniency. But hey, at least they'll have it this time around. He's out onto the rift. They are setting up in mid lane to try to get that priority to make sure they can secure this soul for themselves. As a little bit ago, I was saying Ultra Prime, their composition, they want to get set up in front of these objectives. They want to try and get the flanks for Cryin, but they just don't have the strength to set themselves up in that way whatsoever here. So they're going to try to barrel it down this jungle entrance to the Dragon Pit, where it's going to be so difficult to do because of the poke from Team WE.
Yeah, so much poke coming through. Very difficult to approach through this choke.
Oh, ShiauC, he misses it. He has to flash away. The Solar Flare was utilized. A big ulti there from Team WE. Glacial. Oh my God, ShiauC just died. No, ShiauC gets the second one too, and it's all coming up aces for Team WE. The Stormbringer back, Hacker flashes, but he dies anyways. Elias is still alive for a little bit longer, but not much. Cryin is gonna go raging, but he tries to get Stay. Stay goes golden. Cryin, you can't get anything. That's a clean ace from Team WE.
WE absolutely crushed them, and now just will be able to grab the Dragon Soul.
No, he died to the dragon.
He's just, okay. Mistakes happen, right? But actually, that might be enough. I was thinking they might be able to head straight over the Baron and do it, but the Jinx dead. I think they make the call not to risk it. Will have the Mountain Soul secured in hand. A massive win, but definitely a bit of a fluff for Stay just to die there to the dragon.
Stay's KDA is ruined. I'm upset.
Well, everyone else had already died, so I think he was
he's like, guys, I'm with you.
I want to see what happened to ShiauC and Elk here, because I think it was a shock Was it just
It was the
blast?
rocket over the side, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, the rocket
Oh,
and the
and
shot blast.
the shot
Yeah, okay.
blast.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Those two in unison, a fair bit of damage. Nice little bit of synergy between the poke elements from WE just to one-shot them. But man,
it's so hard.
It just feels so hard.
Because in the Mountain Soul, you're forced into these even tighter positions. And it makes Team WE's job so much easier. You thought fish in a barrel was the saying before. Well, try like fish in an ice tray or something along those lines. It's just so easy for Team WE in those kinds of moments to whittle down the opponent and then pounce on it.
And I think it's so hard for Ultra Prime. Like, we're talking about the idea of Cryin.
He gets half of his health taken out by the accelerated shark blast. He does pop the old so he's buying a little bit of time, but he's just like, I don't know who to hit. I'm not going to kill anybody here. And Ultra Prime say, sorry, Cryin, you're out of luck.
Honestly, probably should just not pop the Ultra.
Kedaya,
They are looking here for Kedaya.
The Solar Flare connects onto two of the rest of Team WE are here. The first rocket connects, and that's soon doom for Ultra Prime. Stormbringer in, BiuBiu on the back, and again, they're getting wiped. Stays here. They get the one. No, they finally do. Okay, ShiauC will take his third death. Team WE still surging forth, and they're pinging onto the Baron now.
Yeah, I mean, Ultra Prime tried for a pick, but this Leona is so tanky, and they just don't have the damage to do anything right now. BiuBiu's going to continue to push mid as they pick up the Baron. 12,000 gold lead, Baron in pocket, Dragon Soul in pocket. Yeah, this just feels kind of unwinnable for Ultra Prime at this point.
Team WE are a kill a minute by themselves. How insane is that? 26 kills in this 25.5-minute game. Team WE taking everything. They've gotten the soul. They took the Baron, and now it's just making sure they can finish the game cleanly.
Yeah, literally at this point, right? They can just push in the side lanes. They have the super minions pressure mid, and I understand the decision from Ultra Prime, right? You want to pick someone isolated. It's the only real win to do so, but a great ult from Kedaya buys him time. The aftershock makes him so hard to kill, especially with the Mountain Soul. And then in the end, they don't even get him. Down to slivers of HP, but the rest of WE comes to turn things around.
Every single time Kedaya in this game, there's going to be a whole highlight montage just of him getting out with sub 50 health, I swear.
Pretty much. And it's painful, right? And we can look at the items now. 3 fully completed for both ShiauC and Stay, right? But also BiuBiu, 4 items. Jayce obviously scales exceptionally well with gold, but he is going to do so much damage. I just think we're going to see a shock blast hit someone's squishy, and they'll lose like 80% of the HP. But, you know, it'll be kind of funny, so I'm totally ready for that.
Totally ready for it. You got the split lane push coming. BiuBiu staying in the mid lane, but 4 strong here for Team W on the bot side. Cryin gets 1 rocket for the face. Already out of it. Now Hacker going in with the Glacial Prison. On the side, BiuBiu just obliterates Cryin. He had ulti and he still died. Oh my goodness, Team WE. This is just unfair. This is just not right. They are destroying Ultra Prime. They have 30 kills, and it ain't stopping anytime soon. 31 on the board. 31 mistakes from Ultra Prime, and a win for Team WE in this first game.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point, I feel like Ultra Prime are probably just happy it's over. Looking towards that game 2, I feel like they just had the tools, right, with the composition. We talked about what they could potentially do, weren't really able to offer it, and ultimately WE a lot more proactivation. In particular, doing as he does, making things happen on the Volibear, there to counter the all-in from Cryin mid, and constantly a big threat in this game. And the thing is, WE have this composition that punishes if you're unable to be proactive in the early game. If you're unable to make things happen, it's kind of just an auto lose at a certain point. Like, yes, there are creative ways where you can find backline access 100%, but it becomes harder and harder, especially with the package, and you saw how much damage they were able to do when they got ahead.
It's incredible, and the fact that they got all 3 of those pieces, right, just to come off the board with all 3 of those in the first phase, I feel like Team WE, we're definitely happy with that, and you know, the bar of execution high on the side of Ultra Prime, but they didn't seem to get close to it. So going to the next game, right, it is about changing that up, getting a little bit more comfort for Ultra Prime, and sticking to the win conditions that we had drawn out for them, right, and trying to put more resources into this mid carry, into this bot lane carry, and try to have something to stand on when you get to the mid game, because it was all Team WE. Yes, the early fights were very back and forth, but you see that gold graph, you see the damage numbers, you see just the absolute domination that Team WE had.
The thing is, you can't be having back and forth early fights, right? You need to be coming out ahead. The problem is, right, they have this Gwen. in a rough matchups against the Jayce. ShiauC has a lot of AD pressure. Cryin was like your winning lane to play for, because bot lane, you actually saw Stay and Kedaya find an advantage in that lane and find that 2v2 kills. So you were so reliant on mid work, and you're so reliant on finding those small numbered skirmishes around the top side with your melee champions, with Sejuani. And I think the big one was that Herald fight, right? The extended fight that WE won. That should be like the prime fight that they're gonna be able to find advantage in, especially as WE honestly kind of fumbled it. They were so late grabbing the package. It felt like that was gonna be Ultra Primes to take, but in the end they end up falling.
They do indeed. We'll see if they can bounce back, though. We're gonna sit to a little break while we get ready for game number 2. So don't touch that